Yes. Yeah, so we'll start our discussion. So last class, so if you remember, say, so we have started this, the finite element method also. Okay. But whatever, I will be discussing is essentially is a crash course. Okay. So already you followed, right? I hope that all of you have taken this course and all the fundamental things in, great detail. Okay. So this, just to keep it in your mind, and these things are required for our next that spectral element method also. That's why we are discussing in detail. So in the most important thing in finite element methods, as I like last class we have seen, the most important thing is the shape functions. Okay. So now, as already I told you, the shape functions are anyway they are nothing but is the cardinal functions also. Okay. And the shape functions, what is the advantage of shape functions? What is the main advantage we did in our last class? What did we observe? What is the main advantage of shape functions?
At the nodes it will be 1, at other nodes it will be 0.
So that is fine. That is anyway the property, but the main advantage is you followed, right? The displacement fields, whatever function you have, it is essentially represented in terms of the endpoints only. You followed, right? Phi 1 or phi I, phi j, say. So you have the shape functions you followed, right? So the advantage of shape functions is you can directly represent the function in terms of its end values. That is the main advantage of these shape functions. So then we said, you see, you can do in global coordinates or in the local, the coordinates also you can derive, and so local coordinate system generally is preferred, you see, because the limits will be 0 to 1, minus 1 to 1. So to find out stiffness matrix and other matrices, you have to do integration. So there's some, the advantages will be there. Okay. So that is how, we have seen, and, we have seen higher order and all those things also. And finally, I think yesterday we have solved even, one simple, the problem. These are all classical problems. Okay. So when you are doing any FEM course, they will teach you, you see, all these things itself. So one thing I just wanted to say, we will not be using, but just this beam element, okay, because all of us are structural engineers, So now for beam elements, so what is the order of the polynomial we use? See, many times in comprehensive Viva, when you are going, right, they will ask you this beam element. It's very important for structures. So what is the order of the polynomial? Or how many unknowns will be there at the nodes? So at the nodes, say, what will be the degree of freedom for beam element? See, for a beam elements at the end, what are the unknowns?
3. 2 displacement and 1 rotation.
2 displacement and 1 rotation. See, generally for beam element, what will be this one? So you have, one, you followed, right, both the ends, say. So you will have displacements, and you also will have rotations also. You followed, right, Q2. So this is, dv by dx at x is equal to 0. Suppose if this Q1 is V, say. Okay. So this is a general, the beam element. Okay, in FEM. Because you can restrict, you see, rotations, and you followed it the boundary conditions. So we write like this. So dv by dx, x is equal to L. So this is a general beam element. So now what will be the order of the polynomial you have to use for interpolation at any point inside this beam, this element? So 4 are there. So now what will be the order of the polynomial? See, with 4 points, what order you can fit?
Third order.
Third order, it's a cubic polynomial. So these is how we write actually. Okay. So 4 unknowns are there. So 4 equations are there. So you substitute, and then you solve for alpha 1, alpha 2. You followed it up to alpha 4 in terms of this the end things. Okay, in terms of the nodal displacements and these rotations. So you can calculate, you see, the shape functions actual. Okay, so we can write, you see, v of x as some n. This is a shape function matrix multiplied by q. So this will be 1 by 4 and this will be 4 by 1. So the shape functions say for beam element we also write like this. Okay, you would have written in FEM also n1, n2, n3 you followed, right? N4 kind of a thing. And if you remember say for beam all the shape functions will be cubic actual. Okay, so 2x cube minus 3l x square plus l cube by l cube so these are the shape functions. So n2 say, so this one will be x cube minus so 2l x square plus l square into x by l square, then n3 say of x. So this will be minus of 2x cube minus 3l x square by l cube, and the last one okay n4. So this will be x cube actual, okay, minus l times x square by l square, and of course our q hat say. So this gives you all the four the unknowns at the end nodes actually, the displacement rotation. So this is how we write this the shape functions say for a simple the beam element. So now I hope all of you know, right, how to calculate when the plane sections remain plane and other things say. So your rotation and other things also comes into picture. So you can find out your B matrix, then you can find out your the stiffness matrix also. Okay, I hope all of you know these things also. So your stiffness matrix, the element stiffness matrix. Okay, so if you have say B transpose D multiplied by B times this volume kind of a thing you have, where our B matrix is say. So B matrix comes from the strains. So epsilon xx is dou u by dou x. So this one will be because of this the simply this plane sections remain plane and others you followed. So you have this q hat and of course you can find out all these stresses and strains and other things. And I hope all of you know how to calculate this stiffness matrix also for a simple beam element. So this is a very important you see when tomorrow maybe in your comprehensive vivas essentially for PhD you see people ask this beam element because it's a very fundamental thing. Okay, so last time in comprehensive also many these questions was asked, how do you solve a beam problem in FEM say. So what is that you have to do? What is the basic equation of equilibrium for the beam EI m is equal to a d square y by dx square, or if you want to write in terms of load say EI d to the power of that fourth order equation you should write. And then you see, so you have to tell, you will divide this into elements, and so these are the beam element, these are the shape functions, and then stiffness matrix and all those things you should be able to tell us actually. Okay, so this beam element is a very important for our structures. So in FEM say we have a lot of other things are there. Okay, so space stress, space frame, so many elements are there. So space frame elements, how many degree of freedom a space frame element has? So how many unknowns will be there for a space frame? Okay, space truss is different. There you have a 60 degree, but if it is a space frame element say, so how many degree of freedom it will be having? For space frame at the nodes say how many degree of freedom you have? See for a space frame what happens say. So when you are talking in space, say how many degree of freedom will be there? It is in space, X, Y, Z, all three will be there. Okay. So now at this node, so how many degree of freedom you have? No. 6. No, tell me. So at each node, so how many degree of freedom you have for a space frame?
3 displacements.
Which one?
3 displacements.
3 displacements, only 3 displacements. So you have 3 displacements will be there. It is a space frame element. So what happens? You also will be having
rotations 3.
Rotations also you followed. So how many degree of freedom it will be there?
6.
No, count properly. So 3 rotations, 3 displacements at each node. So total how many degree of freedom it will be? 12 degrees of freedom, the space frame element. Okay, so like this, you can do variety you followed, right, elements. So the concept is very simple in FEM. Simply you get the, how many degree of freedom you decide. So now, your matrix, your this shape functions you have to estimate, and then B matrix, D matrix, and then stiffness matrix and other things. Okay, these are all, a straightforward thing in FEM. Okay. And now the most important thing for us is, in our this one say is in 3D. Okay, so in 3D, which is a element which is widely used in three-dimensional problems. Now, in 3D say, okay. So if you want to represent, our Earth or whatever things are there, so which is a widely used element in three-dimensional FEM. You would have done,
Cubic
right?
or
Tell me.
cubic element or a hexahedral element?
No, hexahedral is fine, but generally in finite elements, if you are doing 3 dimensions, so if you see all our softwares to model the faults and many softwares are there, right? Even FEM or even in spectral element, that speed one software is there. Okay, so generally if you want to model 3 dimensions, say, so what is that people widely use?
Quadratic.
No, not quadratic, 3-dimensional. Okay, so you are having a 3D medium. Okay, what is the simplest thing we follow in 3D? So you people are using speed software, you people are using other softwares, right? So in generally for 3D, so what is the one which is widely used? The simplest. Tetrahedron. You followed, right? So we discussed it last class. It is a linear, the element we have said already. So you have ux comma y comma z say. So we write, alpha 1 plus alpha 2 times x plus alpha 3 times y plus alpha 4 times z actually. Okay, and similarly we say x comma y comma z. So you have, alpha 5 plus alpha 6 into x plus, alpha 7 into y plus alpha 8 into z. So these are very followed, right, widely used element, and it works much better than, your hexahedra or other, these elements, because it is a linear, so oscillations will be very less for this type of elements. So generally for faults, many cases, no speed or even any finite element things, if you see, say, the old papers in seismology, so everybody uses this tetrahedral elements only. Okay, so now we are having, you see, alpha 1 up to, alpha 2 say. So these are all the constants are there. So now this you have to estimate from the, your nodal, the conditions. So what are the nodal conditions? So for a tetrahedra, so for tetrahedra, say, what is the, at each node, what are, how many degree of freedom it has? At each node, how many degree of freedom it has, tetrahedra? Previous class we have said, right? So I, then if this is a J, then you see K, and then L say. So now for tetrahedral elements, since it is a linear element, so at each point, at each node, how many degree of freedom we have? See here how many unknowns are there? 12 unknowns are there. So you should get 12 equations. How many nodes a tetrahedra has?
4.
4 nodes. So how many degree of freedom will be there at each node?
3.
3. So what are those 3? So they are nothing but, you see, the 3 displacements you have. So if I denote as some q3k minus 1, you remember last class, this is a notation used in FEM. So this is, you see, q3k minus 2. So these are the displacement. So here, we have q 3l minus 1, so q is 3l, then you followed, right? So q 3l minus 2. So we have, 12 nodes are there, and these are the displacements. Say, like for example, u is, q3k minus 2, then v is, q3k minus 1. Okay, so w is, you see, q3k at, x is equal to, you see, x at these places, xk, yk, the zk. Okay, so this is our tetrahedral element. So you solve for all those things, so you can write in terms of our shape functions also. So like ux comma y comma z say. So we write as ni, you see, x comma y comma z. We are writing in global coordinate systems. That's why, x y z. qy3 minus 2 plus, so nj x comma y comma z. Okay, so q3j minus 2. So last class we already wrote this, the shape functions. X comma y comma z. So q 3k minus 2 plus nl say x comma y comma z q3l minus 2. So the expressions for this shape functions already last class I have written, okay, we have derived also in the last class. So our matrix is so u will be so all the three displacements will be there, u, then v, okay, then w. So this will be, you see, so we can write in terms of the shape functions, and these are the at the nodes what are the values actual. So n matrix will be 3 by 12, and this is you see 12 by 1, and the n matrix is say, so because we have arranged like 3k minus 1 and 3k minus 2, so this n matrix also will be, you see, very peculiar. So ni 0 0, then nj 0 0, then nk, okay, 0 0, then nl 0 0, then we have 0 ni 0, okay, 0 nj 0, then you see 0 nk 0, then 0 nl 0, and the last one say, so 0 0 ni 0 0 nj 0 0 nk, and then you see 0 0 nl actual. So this is our shape function matrix for a tetrahedra, which is one of the popular, of course I should say it is the most popular in FEM to solve 3D problems, essentially dynamics problems, and of course your q dash say. So these are all the nodal the displacement. So q3i minus 2, so we write like this. So q3i minus 1, then q 3i, then of course we have, you see, all those other terms will be there, and the last one will be, you see, q3l actual. Okay, so to a 3 by 12 and 12 by 1 itself. Now you can derive our strains also. So epsilon say, okay, so this will strains will be, because we are doing in 3D, so we will have all the strains, epsilon yy and epsilon zz, okay, and then epsilon xy, and then epsilon, you see, xyz, and then epsilon, you see, zx. Of course zx or xz actual. So this is our strain matrix. So now this you can find out, the expressions also. So dou u by dou x, you would have already in continuum mechanics you would have seen. So dou v by dou y, dou w by dou z, okay. So dou u by dou y plus dou v by, you see, dou x, and then dou v by dou z plus dou w by dou y, and then so dou w by dou x plus dou u by dou z actual. So this is our strain matrix. So now UVW. So now we know UVW, all those things, you see, we write in terms of the shape functions. So this you can substitute in that equation, and you can extract your B matrix also. Okay, so this B matrix can be extracted, you followed. So substituting in this expression itself. So what will be the size of our B matrix? Now, so this expression can be written as this. So B into Q at the nodes. Okay, so this is so now what will be this matrix is of size? So 12 by 1. So what will be the size of the B matrix? See how many strains are there here? See how many strains are there? 6 strains are there. And how many nodes are there? Are the nodal, the degree of freedom at each node we are having 3. So 4 nodes are there. 4 3s are 12 actual. So this matrix size will be 6 by 12 actual. Okay. So you can write in terms of the shape functions and you can calculate. Then we have this this stress strain relations also. So sigma is equal to, so D into epsilon. Now what will be the size of D matrix? Now how many stresses are there? See how many stresses are there in 3D?
6.
6 stresses. Strains are also 6 actually. So what will be the size of D matrix? 6 by 6.
6 by 6.
So 6 by 6 strains and then stresses and strains. Okay. So now finally your element stiffness matrix say. So you can easily find out from B transpose D and then b dv. Okay, so this big the expression has to be derived actually. Okay, so this is how you write for the stiffness matrix for a tetrahedra, which is a very the famous thing itself. Now another thing also which we use in spectral elements, say, okay, we don't use this tetrahedra kind of a thing. One also widely used as a brick element also sometimes. Okay, so some people, some textbooks they write as a brick element, or essentially it is a hexahedra actually. So this is also a very famous element, widely used in modeling, this in seismology also. Even in hexahedra with higher degree of with more number of nodes will gives rise to spectral elements. Okay, with higher order things. So now here, so for hexahedra, say, so now how many degrees of freedom you have? No. So for hexahedra, okay, so what will be the this degree of freedom? So how many nodes will be there? Yeah. So for hexahedra, say, how many degree of freedom?
8 nodes,
At each node you have
3 displacement, 3
so
rotation.
3 displacements. So you followed, right, and 8 are there. So 8 threes are the 24 actually. Okay, so that many the degrees of freedom you have. So you will be having, you see, all kinds of the matrices will be there. Okay, so you can write those big expressions will be there. So 24 will be there. So at each thing you have 3. Okay, so you can derive all those expressions actually for hexahedra also. Only thing is it becomes little bit lengthy, but you can derive and then you follow, right? You can derive and do all the calculation, and you can even find out the stiffness matrix also for a hexahedral element. Okay, so this you can try yourself. So this way, we can derive, you see, for many variety, you see, for the cases itself. So now let us see dynamics, the problems. Okay, so you would have done this in detail in your FEM course. So now let us see in dynamics, say, how do we do this, the finite elements. So in dynamic analysis. By, these finite elements. Now, so the first steps in dynamic analysis, we already seen for the wave equation, the first thing is, you divide the body, say, okay, so idealize this body, so there are several steps are there into some E finite elements. Okay, so you would divide this into number of elements. So now, the displacement fields at each place. So the displacement field, okay, of element E. So we can write as x comma y comma z comma t. So this is our u, x comma y comma z comma t, and then we have v. Okay, then w. Okay, so for each element, you can write like this. So in terms of shape function, so shape function is a static thing. It doesn't depend on the time. So one can write this as so these are the end the nodes degree whatever the so QE of t. So this is our matrix E. So this Q, this one say. So this is nothing but the vector of nodal displacements. Okay, and we assume that they are all functions of time actually. Now, so this is the second step. So now once you know this one, so now you have to find out, you see, the stiffness matrix and mass matrix. Okay, so now stiffness matrix anyway, it doesn't require any dynamics. So stiffness is anyway, it is a static property. Okay, so you can use the same whatever you have done previously. So B into you followed, right? So this matrix comes and sigma say is so D times the epsilon this one. So finally this turns out to be D times B multiplied by your this element values. Okay, so finally, so on the velocities, so you can also write in terms of velocities also if you want x comma y comma z comma t. So this also, you know, nx comma, so these are static value, the shape functions. Okay, so multiplied by, you see, so q dot, you know, at the element level, which is also a function of time actually. So now these are our things itself. Now how do you find out stiffness matrix and mass matrix? Now see how to find out stiffness and mass matrix in a, you know, for this dynamics problems. See, like in the wave equations, we solved previous classes. So for the wave equations, how did we arrive at the stiffness matrix? Now, how did we arrive at the stiffness matrix, you know, for a wave equation? Now, see, how did we arrive that wave equation previously? And what is, how did we calculate the mass matrix? No. Now, you people are there. See, what did we do in wave for wave equations? You know, that rho dou square u by dou t square is equal to, you know, that equation we wrote, right? How did we arrive at the stiffness matrix and mass matrix? No. See, this was our equation, right? So rho into, you know, dou square u by dou t square is equal to, you know, so dou by dou x, say, okay. So mu, you know, if you take it inside, so you have, you know, dou u by dou x plus f was there, okay, x comma t. So this was our equation. And now how did we solve previously in FEM, like, you know, previous classes, say? What did we do in FEM to arrive at the stiffness matrix, to arrive at the mass matrix? So what do you do in FEM? What equation you are solving?
mu double dot plus k.
No, mu double dot. How did you how to estimate mass matrix? See, finally everything will boil down to mu double dot plus ku only. Okay, but how did we arrive at you know? So from this expression to mu double dot, how did we arrive? What are the steps previously? How did we arrive? You know, previous classes. What did we do to arrive at this step, mass matrix step? We calculated, no, previous class, last before, you know, last week, I think, you know, we calculated, right, these things in that Eigel's book also. What did we arrive? How did we arrive? What is the expression for mass matrix?
Yeah, rho, that integration of rho phi I phi j that we took.
Okay. So what is the step there? So what we did was to find out mass matrix and stiffness matrix. So we wrote weak form, you know, the equations actually. Okay. So what we did was weak form. Just 1 second. Hello. Yes. Yes. No, anything is fine for me. You suggest me. Yes. 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 4 o'clock I will be there. Okay. No, fine. Yes, yes. Okay. So now what did we do previously? We wrote weak form equations. What was the weak form equation? You remember, right? So previously what did we do? So you multiply, you know, the equation on both the sides by some test functions, you know, you remember, right? So, you know, so we did, you see, mu into, you know, dou square, you know, u by dou x square, say, multiplied by some v or phi or something. So where v is a test function actually. Okay. And then you know, we did all those things, and finally we got our stiffness matrix and the mass matrix. So here to estimate our stiffness matrix and mass matrix, so now you have to use this weak form equations actually. So sometimes what happens in most of the problems, like wave equations, you know already the, you know, the equation of motion, so we directly did this one. So there may be some problems, say, where you know, the equation of equilibrium or equation of motion itself is not known actually. So how do you calculate? Now suppose for the problem, you know, the equation of motion is not known. So how do you calculate if they are not known? So if I know equation of motion, I can formulate in terms of weak form, and then I can derive all the matrices and what are the terms included, the mass matrix and other things I can find out. But if I don't know this equation of motion, say, what do we do in FEM generally? So like for example, you see, I want to find out, the buckling of, self buckling of a column, say. So I have some complicated problem where I cannot, draw the free body diagram, and I cannot derive, the equations of motion actual. So in those cases, what one does is, to derive this weak form, say, you remember, right? Previously in FEM or any courses also, we use this energy methods. You remember these energy methods, we use this calculus of the variations. So we make use of this variational the principles and Euler-Lagrange equations we call them. Okay, so to derive this the expressions also. So we calculate the Euler-Lagrange equations, and then from these equations, say, so we can derive this once again this the equations of motion itself. So anyway, in our case, we are solving the fundamental continuum mechanics equation, so it is very easy. So already I know the equation of motion, I can do it. But if I don't know, say, so then you may have to do this calculus of variations, and then you have to do all those the calculations itself. Okay, so Euler-Lagrange calculate, these things may have to be used to derive the expressions for the mass matrix and as well as for the stiffness matrix. So this is a very the important step in dynamics. So some problems, equation of motion may not be known, so then you may have to do this calculus of variations, and then estimate this mass matrix, stiffness matrix, the weak form equation itself. Okay, so this is the next step. So now once you know these equations of motion, so you can find out mass matrix and stiffness matrix. So the element mass matrix, say, so last class for this one we have already derived. So this you have to derive the element mass matrix. Okay, in our continuum mechanics, say. Now for wave equation we have derived, so same things we are using here also. So rho, okay, so rho into n transpose multiplied by n into dv. So this is our mass matrix. Then we have the stiffness matrix also. So the element stiffness matrix. So this anyway will be the same expression will be there. So B transpose, say. So D times B into dV. So you have this one. Then we have this element damping matrix also. So this also has to be calculated. Okay, this also is a big headache actually in dynamics. So mu into, you followed, right, some n transpose. So n into dV. Okay, so this is our the damping matrix also we write. And finally, say, so we have to calculate the vector of forces, nodal forces and other things also. So they become so these are the the nodal surface forces. Okay, so at the which are acting, so this will be integral so you have to do that weak form, then you will get all these expressions. So n transpose into some phi, you followed it, multiplied by ds1, then the body forces also you can calculate. So these are all the elemental the forces. So n transpose some phi, you see, into dv. So this way you can calculate, you see, all the matrices. Okay, the stiffness matrix, the all kinds of matrices are there. So now after this next step, say, is essentially, so now you have to assemble. Okay, so you assemble the element the matrices, and and you derive our the overall you see the equations of motion. Okay, so this is our next step actually. Okay, so now you have to do for all the elements, so this you have to do. So this is like the master the mass matrix. So you have to all the elements, say, so you have to combine all of them in a nice fashion. Okay, so similarly you have to derive master, the stiffness matrix, then the damping, then all the forces, whatever you have. And then, so our equation of equilibrium will be motion. This will be finally, so m into, you see, q double dot of t plus, so c multiplied by, you see, q dot of t, then plus, k, we have, you see, q of t. Okay. So this multi is equal to P of t. So this is our final, the multi-degree of freedom system, whatever you have, and then you solve this. So this equation, so you have to solve. So only thing is we have this time derivative. So generally, if you want to find out the time derivative, say, as already we said, right, these time derivatives can be solved by the finite difference method or Newmark beta scheme, whatever you would have studied in dynamics. So this can be used here. Or if you can even obtain, like suppose if the loading is some simple sinusoidal load, say, so then already in structural dynamics course, you people have studied, when you are having a single degree of freedom system subjected to this type of a sinusoidal, you can obtain things even in the closed form itself, no need to solve even in finite difference also. But if the loads are arbitrary, say, then you may have to do it in a finite difference or some type of this itself. Okay. Now here in dynamics, say, when you are doing in FEM, there are two concepts are there. One is a consistent mass matrix we have, and then we have what we call as lumped mass matrix also. Okay, so two things are used actually. So like for example, if you take a simple bar element, say, which we did last class, okay, the first one, so which is a simple alpha 1 plus alpha 2 times x itself. So that simple element, say, so we can write as n into q. Okay, so this is a simple bar element. So you have only 2 degrees of at each node, so you are having only 1 degree of freedom, which is equal to q1 and q2. So we write as alpha 1 plus alpha 2 into x. So last class we already derived actually, okay, the shape functions and others. So the shape functions was so 1 minus x by L was the one shape function, other shape function was x by L. Okay, so these are the shape functions. And of course our q, say, is essentially q1 and q2. They are at the both the the node side. So this is u at x is equal to 0, then u is equal at x is equal to L. Okay, so these are the displacement. So now if I try to find out my mass matrix at element level, so the expression for mass matrix is over this volume. So rho into n transpose, say, into n dv. Okay, so if I substitute here and if I calculate, I will get rho a L by 6, 2, 1 and 1 and 2. So this matrix we call as the consistent mass matrix actually in FEM. Now there is another way in FEM where you can do this mass matrix. So generally in dynamics, what you have studied, like you said, the lumped mass. What do you mean by lumped mass? You would have studied, right, in structural dynamics, lumped mass matrix they use. What is meant by mass lumping? Yeah. See, suppose same this bar element, say. So let us say this whole bar element mass is m, and it is a continuous system. So now how can you represent in in a dynamics? If you don't want to calculate this way, so what do you do? What is the easiest way of representing this a continuous system?
Entire mass is lumped at a point.
Entire mass. So this you can model it as, so entire mass you dump at one node actually. You followed. So this also you can do, or sometimes for this type of problems, so the best thing is you lump this mass into at the two nodes actual. So you are having two masses, so m by 2 m by 2 actual. Or you can even model this problem as three masses also. You followed, right? So m by 3 m by 3 m by 3 m by 3 also. So this way also we can model the mass matrix. Okay, so the mass matrix, if you calculate as per the finite elements, like, so here you are assuming mass is distributed over the entire element, and then you calculate. So these what we say, so these are consistent. So this mass matrix, it is consistent with the displacement field actually. So what you are using in our finite elements. So sometimes instead of doing that one, so some calculations, people also use this lumped mass matrix also. Okay. So when you do this lumped mass for the same problem, if I do two masses, say, okay, to be consistent with the previous thing, so my matrix will be for this element will be rho AL by 2 1 0 0 1 actually. So this is my lumped mass matrix. So I can use a consistent mass matrix, or I can use this lumped mass matrix also. But consistent mass matrix is, it is a consistent with the displacement field, whereas this lumped mass, it is not, it is just lumping the masses at, two different, you followed, right, like this. Now, which is more advantageous, or which one you will prefer in FEM? Which is more advantageous, or which has a lot of advantages compared to, each other? Consistent or lumped?
Consistent.
No, consistent you use or lumped mass. Which is advantageous? You see the matrix here, how the matrices are looking like?
Yes, lumped one.
Lumped is what type of a matrix it is?
It is a diagonal matrix.
So lumped masses generally is a diagonal matrix actually. Now you tell me which one you will prefer.
Lumped one.
Because computation becomes very easy actually. So now, but of course you can ask, like, whether both of them will be accurate or which one will be more accurate. So lumped mass, is also fine. It is also accurate and it compares nicely with the consistent mass matrix also. Okay. So sometimes what happens is, people prefer this diagonal matrices also. So some advantages are there when you try to solve, in the finite element. So these also widely preferred in FEM, the lumped mass, rather than this consistent mass. But when it comes to wave propagation, say, this lumped mass thing is very, big headache. See, like for example, if you're modeling the soil or something, see, how do you do this lumping, where these things are located in 3 dimensions, it becomes very, very complex. So that's why, people don't prefer this lumped mass. So they go directly with the consistent mass matrix itself, because it is very easy to calculate, you followed. So when you're writing a code, it becomes very, very easy, okay, because you are having the shape functions, n, and because anyway you may be calculating the stiffness matrix, so it will be easy actually, consistent mass. But lumped mass has numerical advantages, okay, because it becomes, a diagonal kind of a thing. So many engineering problems, say some small rod problem, beam problem, or the structure problem, people prefer this lumped mass. So the because the mass matrices will be diagonal, so some advantages are there. Okay, so this is how you calculate all the matrices, and then if you are calculating everything in local coordinate system, say, okay, as already I told you, generally we calculate in a local coordinate, that is 0 to 1 or -1 to 1 kind of a thing. So then you can convert everything into the global coordinate system also, and then you assemble all the elements and you create a mass, the master mass matrix or something you have to create. Okay, so now quickly one small example you see we will see, so that we will simply we will see a space stress. Yeah, so we will try to calculate its the free vibration of a space stress. Okay, so we have a space stress, the element like this. So this is some space stress element. Let us say there is some pipe kind of a thing. So now so how many degrees of freedom will be having a space stress element? If L is the length, at each node, say, how many displacements will be there? So it is not space frame. It is how many?
3.
3. So three displacements will be there. Okay. So these are 3 displacements. And no notation is how do they represent 3j, q 3j, -1, then q 3j -2, and here you have so q 3i -1, then q 3i -2, and then q 3i actual. So this is our the space stress element, 3 degrees of freedom at each the node itself. So now the displacement field, say, anywhere inside the truss. So you have 3 displacements essentially. So that is u of x, v of x, then w of x. So there are 3 displacements are there. So you can write, already we have derived for this element the mass matrices and the shape functions in the previous class. Okay, so these are elements. So now what will be the size of our this matrix? So q, so 3 here, 3 here, so this will be 6 by 1, and our this one will be 3 by 6, and this size will be 3 by 1. So this is our displacements, and our the shape functions will be like this. So 1 minus x by L, 0 0, x by L 0 0, then 0 1 minus x by L, okay, 0 0, x by L 0 0 0, 1 minus x by L, then 0 0, x by L. So this is my shape functions, the matrix itself, and our q say, so this quantity, so this one will be, you see, q of 3i minus 2, then q of 3i minus 1, then q of 3i, then we have a q of 3j minus 2, then q of 3j minus 1, and q of 3j. Okay, so these are the the nodal the displacements. Okay, and now we have to calculate our mass matrix actually for this small the space stress element. So this one will be, see, as already we wrote our expression. So if you don't know the expression, you have to get from the weak form the equations. So n transpose multiplied by n and dv. So this you have to calculate. You know all the shape functions here. So it is just a calculation. So rho al by 6 kind of a thing you have. So the matrix is 2 0 0 1 0 0. Okay, so this is the matrix 0 2 0 0 1 0, then 0 0 2 0 1, then we have 1 0 0, then 2 0 0. Okay, so this one, so now is 1 0 1 0, then is 0 2 0, then 0 0 1, and then 0 0 2. So this is my mass matrix. What type of mass matrix it is? Lumped or consistent?
Consistent.
Consistent.
Why consistent? By looking at the matrix itself, you should be able to tell us actual. Okay, why? How can you say it is a consistent?
Of diagonal terms are not 0.
So if it is lumped mass,
it will be a diagonal matrix.
Diagonal. So now if we want to do it as a lumped mass, what is that you have to do for this the space stress? So the entire mass, say, you have to lump some half here, half this node, say. So then also you can derive your own the mass matrix itself. Okay, so it is up to you, but generally consistent is the one which is preferred actual. Okay, but some calculations people use the other things also. Okay, and now you have to find out, so the mass matrix has been the calculated here. So this is a consistent mass matrix. So now this way, so this is for a truss element. Similarly, you can find out for all kinds of elements also, space frame elements. Say. Now for space frame element, what is the degree of freedom? This is a space truss. Now you are having a frame. Now for space frame, what happens? How many degrees of freedom? How many?
12 degrees
12.
of freedom.
12 degrees of freedom. So what will be your mass matrix size? So what will be the consistent mass matrix size? See, here we are having 6 degree, 6 by 6. So there it will be
12 by 2.
12 by
12
12.
by 12. It is very easy. You know the shape functions, then simply you follow, right? You have to arrange and you have to get. So planar frame, beam element, we discussed, right, the beam element also previously. So for beam elements, what will be the size of the mass matrix? Just now we discussed previously the starting of the class. So for beam elements, how many unknowns are there at the nodes? How many degree of freedom you have? Beam, previously we have seen, right, in the starting of our class.
2. Each node 2 degrees freedom.
What 2 displacements, 2 rotations. So mass matrix will be, you see, 4 by 4 actual. Okay, for a beam element, I will write the mass matrix for beam element. Very simple to calculate. Rho into n transpose into n into dv. Okay, so beam element, one should know because we are all structural engineers. Okay, so some 156 and some 22 L, then 54, then minus 13 times L, then 22 L. Okay, 54, then minus 13 times L. So 4L square, 13 times L. So minus 3 times L square, then 13 times L. 156 minus 22 times L. Okay, minus 3L square, 22 times L, 4L square. So this is our mass matrix for the beam element. So how the mass matrix looks like here? Now, what type of matrices are these? Even for the previous case and this case also say, what type of matrices are they? They are symmetric or asymmetric matrices?
Symmetric.
So consistent mass matrices are also symmetric only. Okay. So this way you can find out mass matrices for all variety kind of elements. So if you see any FEM textbooks, they will give for triangular element, axisymmetric element, torsion element, small bending element, that element, this element. So you will have variety of the mass matrices will be given to you. Okay. So now let us see some simple, the problem. Okay. So let us say you have a stepped bar. Okay, bar is like this. Okay, so we will use a simple the bar element itself. So now this bar elements, I want to find out its natural frequency using finite elements. Now what is that I have to do? What is the first step? So these are the dimensions, L by 2, this is also L by 2. These are all bar elements. Okay, so this area, if it is A, say, so this area is 2 times you see A itself. So these are Young's modulus is all same, everything is same, only the area of cross sections are different actually. Okay, so now I want to find out the natural frequency of this simple bar element. Now how do I find out? What's the first step? Now what's the first step?
Degrees of freedom.
Yeah, so these are bar elements. So you have to divide it into number of elements. Okay, so you divide this into 2 elements, say. So Q1, Q2, and then you see Q3. So these are my degrees of freedom actually. Okay, so now you have to write the mass matrix, stiffness matrix. So for the first element, so this is element number 1. So only thing is area is different. So this is element 1 and this is element 2. So now the stiffness matrix, already for the bar element we have already calculated. Okay, so A1, so AE, so you can also write this is the element. So by L of the element 1 minus 1 is minus 1 1. So anyway, for this problem area is 2 times this itself. So automatically, and L by 2 is the length. So you can write this as 1 minus 1, 1 minus 1 1. So these for the element 1. So now for the element 2, say area is different actually. So you have 2AE by L. So 1 minus 1 minus 1 1. So these are the stiffness matrices for the first element and for the second element. Now you have to find out the mass matrix also. Mass matrix also we have just now calculated. So these are the details. So rho AL by 6, and we have 2 1 1 2, the consistent mass matrix actually. So now area is 2 times is 1, and L is also L by 2. So you can write this as rho AL by 6, 2 1 1 and 2. So this is my mass matrix of the first element. Now similarly for the second element also, say only areas are different. So so 2 1 1 2. So these are the the matrices actually. Okay, mass matrix, stiffness matrix. So now you combine all these matrices assembled. Okay, so you assemble the mass matrix and stiffness matrix. I hope all of you should know this. Already would have done it here. So 2AE say by L. Okay, so 2 minus 2 0 minus 2 minus 1. Then we have 0 minus 1 1. So this is assembled stiffness matrix, and you have the mass matrix also in the same fashion. So rho AL by 12. Okay, so 4 2 0 2 6 1 and 0 1 is it 2. So these are the stiffness matrices and the mass matrices. So now for the free vibration problems, how do you find out natural frequency? What is how do you find out natural frequency? Remember in dynamics, K minus, you remember, right? Determinant you followed, right? So this you solve actually. Okay, so here you substitute your mass matrix and stiffness matrix. So you have 2AE by L. Okay, so 2 minus 2, then 0, then minus 2 3 minus 1 0 minus 1 1. Okay, so minus omega square. So rho AL by 12. So 4 2 0 2 6 1 and then 0 1 2. Okay, so this has to be solved actually. So this is equal to 0. Okay. So you solve this expression, so you will get our natural frequency. So if I define, a new constant, say some beta as rho square L square W square by 24 times, E. Okay. So you can write the determinant of that matrix. So you will get a characteristic, the equation, some 18 beta square 1 minus 2 times beta square and beta square minus 2 is equal to 0. So you will have three roots will be there. The first root, say beta square is 0. So which means omega 1 square is 0. That means omega 1 is 0. The first natural frequency is a 0 frequency. And beta square, if it is a half, say the second root, so omega 2 square, say is 12e by rho L square. And the third root, say is a 2, so which means W3 square is equal to 48e by rho into L square. So these are the three roots actually we have solved. What does the first root corresponds to? We have got 0 natural frequency. What does it mean?
Rigid body motion.
Now why we have got here rigid body motion? Now to avoid this, what you have to do?
Boundary conditions you have to put.
But here what is the element we have assumed? We have assumed this is a simple bar element. Okay, Q1, Q2, Q3 are there. So we have not made any assumption that one end is fixed or one end is free. We have not done anything, right? So obviously we are assuming that this is like a free you followed, right? So since we have not done anything with respect to this element, so automatically you see we get one degree of freedom. So that is one natural frequency as 0, which means a rigid body, you see the mode will be there. You can also calculate. So for omega 1 is equal to 0, you substitute in those eigen vectors, say. So you get this matrix as 1 1 1 actually. Okay. So these is how you get, and you can go back now for the second natural frequency, so the eigenvectors. So Q2 will be, you see, 1 0 minus 1, and for the third eigenvector, say, okay, that is for the third eigenvector corresponding 1. So Q3 hat will be, you see, 1 minus 1 and 1. So these are the three the mode shapes actually. So that if you draw the first mode shape is like this. So for this stepped bar, say the first mode shape is like this only. Everywhere it is Q1, Q1, Q1. Okay. So it is like a rigid body mode, we say. The second mode, say, is essentially, you can see 1 0 minus 1. So this is our second mode actual. Okay. And the third mode, say, you can see, so 1 minus 1 and then 1 itself. So how it looks like? So you have to have this one. So you followed it. So the mode shape is like this. Okay. So these are the three modes: Q1, then Q2, and then Q3. Okay. So this is how we calculate in FEM. So if you want to calculate our the natural frequencies. So now so you can find out orthogonalization also here. Orthogonalization of the mode shapes. So this also has to be calculated, right? In in dynamics you would have studied actual. Okay, so generally what do? So these eigenvectors should be orthogonal to which matrix? They can, of course, they are orthogonal to stiffness, they are orthogonal to mass matrix also. Okay, the amplitudes you find out by making you remember, right? So if I write as this A times, so these are the eigenvectors, say, where I is equal to 1, 2, and then 3. So the mode shapes, the eigenvectors can be written as you see AI times Qi, this one. So now to find out the amplitude of this eigenvectors, say. So how do you to calculate in our dynamics? Non-zero constant. Now how do you find out the the value of the eigenvectors? Because eigenvectors are non-unique, right? Their amplitudes, they can be anything. So in dynamics, what do you do? Now how do you find out these eigenvectors? The amplitude of the eigenvectors. Now how to select these AIs? Now See, in multi-degree of freedom systems, you would have studied, right? Eigenvectors, how did you find out, in dynamics? You remember, eigenvectors are orthogonal to mass matrix also. They are also orthogonal to stiffness matrix also. Okay, so now, and of course, they are orthonormal, that property will be there. So you have two choices are there. One choice is you can select AI such that, the mass matrix, this one says. So if I multiply AI, QI, this transpose, you have a mass matrix here. Once again, you multiply, say, QJ. So this should be equal to 1 when I is equal to j, and this should be equal to 0 if I is not equal to j. So you are finding AI such that when you multiply with a mass matrix, it becomes 1 itself. You remember this thing. See, we write like this, no? Now what do you do now? This equation, say, what is that we are trying to do here? So when I multiply by phi transpose m phi, say, okay, you have some z here, plus phi transpose, we have a k matrix and phi, and you have this z also. What we try to do in dynamics, what should be this value? So when I do this multiplication, so what should happen? What is that we what is that we want this type of equation? What should
Diagonal
be the value
matrix.
of? No, not diagonal. Phi transpose m phi. What should be phi transpose m phi? Yeah, we want it to be 1. You followed it. It should be identity matrix. So that I will have a equation z double dot. And what should be phi transpose k phi? You want it to be identity, or what is that you want to be? So what is the single degree of freedom system equation? See, we write like this, no? How do we write this expression? X double dot plus
omega n square.
So now we want all these equations also to be like this actually. So now what should be the criteria? Phi transpose m phi should be identity, but phi transpose k phi should be
Diagonal matrix.
Which consists of your natural frequencies itself. So the advantage is, so whole multi-degree of freedom system is collapsed to a simple, the single degree of freedom system. That is how we select the amplitudes actually, such that AI phi a transpose m, Aij phi a transpose should be 1 when I is equal to j, or you can also write this equation as AI phi a transpose multiplied by k. When you put k matrix here, say, on the right hand side, what should be the case condition here? It should be 1, or what should be this one? So if I replace m with k, now what should happen? Now see this expression, what should happen? What should happen in this equation if I write instead of m, if I substitute stiffness matrix here? So our criteria is, what should happen here? Phi transpose k phi should be
Omega n square.
Omega square actually. Both of them are same. Okay. So generally, in dynamics we select the amplitude of the eigenvector such that, when you multiply with a mass matrix, it should be equal to 1. That is how, we have to select that. So now you substitute in that equation, you will get all the AIs actual. Okay. So, A1 is, so 2 by 3 rho AL, the half. These are the amplitudes of the eigenvectors. Okay, so 2 by rho AL, half, very easy to calculate. Okay, and A3 is, so 2 by rho AL into half. These are very, very important, because without this, you cannot find out for any arbitrary, the forcing function. That's why, this becomes very, very important here. So the eigenvectors now becomes, so 2 by 3 rho AL whole to the power of half. 1, 1, 1. So this is the first eigenvector. The second eigenvector is, the amplitude is, you see, this expression, and 1, 0, minus 1. So this is the second eigenvector. And the third eigenvector, say, so 2 by rho AL, the half, and then we have 1 minus 1, 1. So 3 eigenvectors, will be there. So the amplitudes are found such that when you multiply this with respect to a mass matrix, say, it should be 1 itself. So that is the criteria actually in our finite elements. So now in the same problem, say, So now suppose I fixed this end. Now what will be the natural what will happen? The same problem. One end is fixed. Now what we should do? Previously we have derived for a free beam actually, and now one end is fixed. So now what happens to all the matrices here? Now what happens? One end is fixed. What you should do? See, last class I told you, right? What you should do?
Delete the corresponding rows and columns.
You have to delete the corresponding row, corresponding to Q1, because Q1 is 0 actual. So one end is the fixed. So now our equation says, so this becomes 2AE by L. Okay. So 3 minus 1 minus 1 plus 1. Okay. Minus rho AL omega square by 12. So 6 1 1 2. Okay. So this is our equation comes. And finally say, so you can solve for the roots of the equation. So omega 1 becomes 1.985 E by rho. Now you will not get any natural frequency 0, because one end is fixed, so there is no possibility of a rigid body mode here. Okay, so E by rho L square. So these are the two natural frequencies, and you can find out the mode shapes also. So 0.57751, and then Q2. So this will be minus 0.57751. So these are the eigenvectors. But as already I told you, you have to find out the eigenvectors. Okay, the amplitudes of the eigenvectors you have to calculate. How to calculate amplitude of the eigenvectors? A1 and A2. How to calculate? Just now I told you, right? How do we calculate the amplitudes of the eigenvectors? Now, how do you calculate? Just now we discussed, right? How we have calculated here these amplitudes. That's a 2 by this. How did we calculate these things?
Orthogonality of
orthogonal to mass matrix, and the right hand side should be 1. You can make it orthogonal to stiffness matrix also, but right hand side should be omega square actual. Okay, so you can find out both the A1 A2 for this problem. I think in this problem it turns out to be 1.526 by rho AL half. Okay, and the second one say, so A2 will be 2.053 by rho AL half actual. So you will get these amplitudes in this fashion itself. Okay, so this way you can find out for variety of cases in this FEM actually. Okay, and now to solve any problems, once you have the natural frequencies, once you know the mode shapes, then other problems becomes you follow, right? Very easy kind of a thing. So now the same problem, the step is bar. So everything remains the same. Now here I have applied a force actually at the free end. So here I have applied a force which is a pulsating load. Okay, some pulse kind of a thing. So the amplitude is a P naught, and the load is also applied up to some T naught. Okay, the same bar, and it is applied at the free end. So this is a forced vibration. You follow. So this you have to solve. So now you have to find out the response of this bar subjected to pulse load at the free end. So now the steps are going to remain same. The natural frequency, then the mode shapes, all of them are same itself. Now only thing is we have to find out the generalized the load vector. Okay, so this is the only step. So this is some Q transpose multiplied by P of T here. So you have 1 by rho AL because you multiply by 5 transpose on other side also. So you have 0.8812 1.526 minus 1.186, then 2.053. Multiplied by 0 P3. Since the load is applied at 3, that's why it is a P3. Okay, so finally I will get my two equations actually. So if I write as n some eta double dot, so single degree of freedom system, E by rho times L square into eta 1, it is 1.526 P3 by rho AL half. So this is one equation we get. and another equation, say 26.62 E by say rho times L square some eta 2, so 2.063 P3 by rho AL into half actual. So these are our the single degree of freedom systems. So now you solve them using finite difference or whatever you want to like actually. Finite difference or analytically or whatever methods are possible. So you solve, say you solve for eta 1 eta 2 and then you find out our q1 q2 you follow, right? All other things can be estimated actually. So this way we try to solve it in the any dynamics problems using our finite element. Okay, so anyways I will stop here. So next class we will continue our discussion. So if you have anything to ask, you can ask me.